Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about the Augmented Sixth Chord, and the name of this is really scary, the Augmented Sixth Chord, but it's really not a frightening thing at all. All we have to think about is the key that we're in, and it could be a major key, it could be a minor key, and we have to think about what key that is. We find the dominant octave. Let's just say for the moment that we're in the key of C minor. Okay, so if we're in the key of C minor, E flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, E flat, A flat, we find the dominant octave. Well, the dominant, if we remember our scale degrees, we have tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant. Dominant is the fifth, submediant is the sixth, and leading tone's the seventh. Dominant's the fifth, C, D, E, F, G. Here's our dominant, and there's an octave I make of the dominant. Now, the whole way this works is we have three different types of augmented sixth chords. We have the Italian augmented sixth chord, which is within all three different types of augmented sixth chords. We have the French augmented sixth chord, which is more of a whole tone scale kind of a sound, kind of a French sound, more impressionistic sounding. And we have the German augmented sixth chord, which is like a full major minor seven sound, and it has to resolve to 1-6-4 before going to 5. These are predominant chords, and yet they sound dominant, but they're built on the lower sixth degree of the scale. Anyway, we have our dominant octave. All we have to do is find a half step above the lowest note of that dominant octave and find a half step below the highest note of that dominant octave. And we have A flat and we have F sharp. If we just count our letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, that makes 6. And A flat to F would be a major sixth. A flat to F sharp, well, we have to expand beyond major, it would be an augmented sixth. All we need to do to have an Italian augmented sixth is we add the keynote. If we're in the key of C minor, our keynote is right there, C. And guess what? We double the C. And there we have a beautiful Italian augmented sixth chord. What happens in the augmented sixth chord, we say this saying, I have my students memorize this saying: the interval of the augmented sixth expands outward to the dominant octave. So that A flat goes to G, this F sharp goes to G. The interval of the augmented sixth, that's these guys right here, expands outward to the dominant octave, which is here. So we would assume this goes to 5, and we can have this do that kind of a thing right there. And we have just a beautiful resolution of the Italian augmented sixth chord. Now, if we wanted to make a French augmented sixth, we start with an Italian augmented sixth, but we add an augmented fourth above the bottom note, which would be the A flat. And it's a French augmented sixth adds again an augmented fourth above here, so we have our augmented sixth to begin with, which is still A flat. By the way, that's in the key signature. A flat to F sharp is our augmented sixth. We add our keynote, which is C, and we add the augmented fourth above A flat. Well, A flat to D flat is a perfect fourth. An augmented fourth would be D. And there we have a beautiful French augmented sixth chord. With the French augmented sixth chord, we also have something called nested tritones, because we have a tritone, or an augmented fourth, between A flat to D, and we have a tritone between C and F sharp. And it has this kind of a whole tone sound. In fact, we could fit a whole tone scale: A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat, F sharp, A flat, and so it has that kind of a dreamy sound to it. The last augmented sixth chord I want to cover is the German augmented sixth, and that is going to be, this has a perfect fifth in it to complete the sound of a major minor seventh chord. But again, it's built a half step above the dominant note. So if our dominant note is G, then we're going to have A flat and F sharp. Remember, the interval of the augmented sixth expands outward to the dominant octave. We add our keynote, and we add a perfect fifth above the bottom note, and that's going to be an E flat, and I'm going to sneak that E flat in right to add to this though. We can't have this go directly to a 5 chord, because if it goes directly to a 5 chord and we do G, B, D, F, then we would have parallel fifths. We'd have A flat to G and E flat to D. So what we have to do is we have to insert one chord in between here, and that's the 1, 6, 4. So this will be a C minor chord, a 1 chord, but with the fifth in the bass. And there we have 1, 6, 4. Now we can have this be 5, 5, 7. And of course this would more likely proceed to 1. So it would be 1, 6, 4, 5, 7, 1. So again, within this, we do have the Italian Augmented Sixth. We have the interval of the Augmented Sixth. We have the key that we're in, but we're adding a perfect fifth to make a German. The German must go to 1, 6, 4 before going to 5, 7. Composers did this again and again. The French Augmented Sixth adds an augmented fourth above the bass note, which is A flat. And the Italian Augmented Sixth simply skirts the issue by doubling the keynote. So we have 2/3 in that chord. One other quick thing I want to say about the Augmented Sixth chord, and strangely, I want to call the A flat in each of these the root of the chord, but I'm not calling it the root because this is one situation where we don't, the chord already seems to be inverted, being an Augmented Sixth chord. If we spell the notes in an Italian Augmented Sixth chord, it's A flat C F sharp. Well, you might think it's F sharp A flat C if we're going every other letter, and that's confusing. Okay, if it's a German Augmented Sixth, you would think it would be F sharp A flat C E flat to try to make it spell in thirds. With the Augmented Sixth chords, we just don't worry about that. We don't think about that. We just let the chords fall the way they are. Try these in different keys. They're always built on the lowered 6th scale degree of a major key, or they're built on the diatonic 6th scale degree of a harmonic minor or a natural minor. Thank you very much. That's a quick introduction to the Augmented Sixth chord.